So hey everyone, and in this video we are going to learn about JavaScript object notation. So JSON stands for JavaScript object notation, and JSON is actually a format which is used for transferring data between front end and back end. And whenever you are using any API or you are sending your own data in a website, it actually is sent or received in the form of JSON. So first of all, let's see through the code how actually JSON looks. Then we would perform some operations to actually understand how you can do some manipulations in the JSON file. So guys, I'll just open this with VS Code. If you haven't installed VS Code, you can check out my previous installation video on VS Code. In the module 1, I have done that. So you can check that video, and once you have installed VS Code, you have something like this. I've opened VS Code and it would look something like this. Okay, so I would simply create a file named as JSON tut HTML. Okay, so I'm just going to write some code in HTML. So this is the code, and I'll just say we have a h1 tag, and here suppose you're going to show some data. Okay, you are just going to show some data. For example, I'll just say that this is actually giving me user profile. Okay, so user profile. So first of all, let me show you how we are going to show JSON data into any page. Then we are also going to learn some basic things which you would always use. Okay, so right now you can see that this is HTML page which would suppose show you user profile data. That means first of all, let me just create a division. Inside this, I would be having a p tag which shows me, which gives me name, and another p tag or span tag, whatever you want. Let me just create span tags, that would be better. Okay, so I'll just create a p tag here, and inside this I would just type name, and let me just say that the span tag with the ID name. Okay, so that's how I'm just calling out name. Similarly guys, let's say we have one more field for age. Similarly, we have one more field for example, we have email also. Okay, so let me just say that we have email, and similar to this I can show phone number also. Okay, so these are all the details suppose which I want to show. And let's say we have one more thing, that is the image, so profile image. So let me just show this at the top. So I'll just say we have one img tag which shows profile image, and right now initially I would just leave it as empty, but I would give this an idea of avatar, that is profile image. Okay, let me just write profile image, that would be easier to check. Okay, so profile img, that is profile image. So suppose these are all the details which would come into my HTML page, and initially you can see I've left these fields empty. You can see all of them are empty. That means what would you see? So for checking this, what you can do is you can simply search for an extension here, live server. Once you install this, mine is already installed. Once you install this, you would see a button like this, go live, or you can right click and you can click open with live server. So now if you start this, your HTML document would open something like this, right? So now what we want is, suppose data would be coming from some backend. In what format data comes? So that's the question. So the format in which data would coming is the JSON format. Okay, so let's assume what is the format. So here I'm just going to write script, that is for JavaScript. I hope everyone has watched my basics of HTML, CSS, JavaScript video. And that also I have taught how to get data from a weather API. If you haven't watched, you can watch that, or else I'm going to show that again. This is the JSON specific video. So right now I'll just say let data from backend. Okay, so suppose this is the data which you would receive from backend, and this is the JSON formatted. In this format you would receive data. So JSON format is nothing but just a collection of key value pairs, that is an object. Okay, JSON actually is an object. An object can contain any key value pair, multiple other objects, or arrays, or arrays could also contain some other objects, like nested of objects. Okay, so right now let's say that the name is Harshal Jain. Okay, so suppose my name is Harshal Jain, and age is 21, and email is virajj014@gmail.com. And let me just say I would also pick my profile picture. Suppose let me just pick my profile picture from GitHub. Okay, so that So this is actually my GitHub account, and here I have just created a GitHub account, and I take a lot codes here. Okay, I actually save a lot codes here, so you can create your own GitHub account. And now, guys, here you can see similar to this, you might have your own profile picture. So I'll just simply right click here, and you would always in any image, not just this image, in any image from Google also you can copy any image. So you'll just right click, and then you can see we have copy image address. If I just click this, and then if I just paste it anywhere, so you can see automatically I would get this. Okay, automatically I would just get my image, right? So that's the benefit. So that's what you have to do. You can copy image from anywhere. Now what I would do is I would just paste this URL here, right? So I've just took an image URL, so you can assume that this image is saved in my backend, and the link of that image is coming here. So you can see I have all the details. Okay, I have all the details. Now let me just first of all print things. Okay, so if I just say console.log data from backend, what you would receive is, I would simply right click, inspect, and now if I go on console, you can see that you would be receiving data. Actually, not exactly in this format. It would be something in string format. Okay, so for example, let me just write JSON.stringify. From the backend, you would be receiving data in this format. That means in string format. So if I just show you this now, you can see this is actually a string format. So whenever you receive the data in this format, you won't be able to access it. First of all, you have to convert this into like, okay, let me just say let string data, that would be better. Okay, so at the end when you receive data from backend, so you would receive data in this format, that is in string format. So whenever you receive this data in string format, first of all you have to convert it in that format that which you can understand. For example, right now if I just write console.log string data, and actually from that I want to just show the name field. That's how you can actually access the keys of the JSON format. Okay, so I hope everyone knows how to access data of an object. That's the same thing. Okay, so we are trying to just access data of the object. Okay, this is the whole object, and from that I'm trying to access the name field. Okay, so right now if I'm trying to access the name field, what would I see? So you can see I'm getting undefined. Why? Because the data which you receive from the backend is actually in string. Okay, so this is, I'm assuming that data is in string. So first of all you have to convert that JSON format data. So I just say let parsed data. Okay, so this is actually known as parsing. That means the data in which you can do manipulation, that's known as the parsed data. So what you have to do is, whenever you receive a JSON string from the backend, you have to just write that string inside JSON.parse, and then you would get the parsed data. Okay, so now if I just try to write parsed data, actually first of all let me just show you what is parsed data. So parsed data is nothing but just the complete object, not a string. This is a complete object now, right? So now if I just write parsed data dot name, you would be able to receive your name. Similar to this, you can get all details like age, email, profile. Okay, one more thing, like if I just create an array, suppose you have an array of hobbies. Okay, and one more thing, if I write family, okay, family, and let me just say that we have an array of other users. Okay, so suppose we have some user1. Okay, so I'm just creating an array which contains more objects so that you know how to access things. Okay, so let me just write user1, and suppose age is this. Similar to this, I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. So I have just added two users here, and age is suppose 22, and you can close it. So you can see what I've done is, inside my JSON you might see some cases like this. That means you have a key named as family. It contains an array as a value. So how to actually access these? What you can do is, you have this data, right? So you have parsed data. From that, what you have to do is, okay, let me just first of all show only parsed data. So what from that, what you have to do is, you have to target parsed data dot family. Okay, so inside this you have some objects. Okay, so you would get all the objects. For example, if I just say parsed data dot family, okay, dot family, so you would receive the array of two fields. Okay, two objects. You can see this is the family array, right? And inside this you have the first object. How to access the first object, first element of the array? You simply write the 0th index, so you would get the 0th index. Okay, now from that, how you can access the name? You can simply write dot name. Okay, so I would simply write dot name. So that's how you can access fields. So you can see that I'm able to get user1. Okay, so that's how you can actually access fields of any nested object which is inside an array, which is inside a whole JSON data. So things are like that. And similarly, if I talk about hobbies, this is just an array. So if I just say that, let me just comment this out, and if I write console.log parse data dot hobbies, so you would receive your hobbies. If you write the zeroth index, so you would get the zeroth element, that is coding. Okay, so that's how you can actually get data, right? So this is the console part. Now what I want is I want to show the data which I received from the backend here. Okay, here I want to show that data. Actually, I don't want to show the phone. Okay, or else let me just add a phone number. So I'll just suppose add this phone number. So you can see that this data. So you can see this data is form of a number and this is a string. Okay, that's also a difference. This is a string and this is a number. Okay, that's also a difference. Right. So no, now I hope you know that what is JSON format data, and you would be receiving some kind of data from the backend. Okay, or else you would be using some kind of APIs like API created by someone else. For example, weather app. You won't be going to every city and measuring the temperature, right? So what you would do is you would just use APIs created by somebody else. Is some other company which maintains those APIs. For example, you want to embed Google Maps into your own application. What you would do, you won't be just going through the complete earth and then marquee cities like that. You won't be doing that, right? You would be using Google Maps, that is in your application. You would be using APIs of Google Maps. You would just show the interface of Google Maps by using their API. So that would be really easy, and that's the purpose of APIs. So that's some separate topic, but yeah, you would be again receiving the same format data. Either you're using some API, some other people's API, or you are using your own backend's API. In those cases also, you would be receiving this data only. So you assume that this is the data coming from backend, and you pass the data first. Initially it would come in string format. We have assumed that data comes in string format. You'll be parsing that data, so it's passed. Now you are simply saying that you are extracting some fields which you want to show in your page. Okay, so suppose if you got the data, okay, so you would just say let name equals document dot. So this is the DOM manipulation. I hope everyone knows document dot get element by ID name. So I'm just targeting the ID which contains name. So I'm just targeting this element. Inside this I just show my name. Okay, similarly age, similarly gender, like that. Okay, so a lot of fields you can show whatever you want. So guys, here you can see that I have actually targeted all the fields. I've targeted all the fields here. Okay, right, I've targeted all the fields. Now what you have to do is you would just say name dot inner text equals parse data dot name. What you would see is now you would see your name, right? Similarly, you would just say age dot inner text. That means age elements inner text would now become whatever age you have inside. Okay, whatever age you have inside. So you can see you got the age. Okay, similarly, if you want to show the email, if you want to show the phone, so you would show all the details. Now talking about the profile image, so you know that the img tag has the src. Okay, src field. So in that field I want to show my link. In that field I want to show my link. So you can see that I'm actually able to get my data, right? So that's the data. Now you can actually show a few more fields, like for example, you can actually create a division or things like that to show extra data. Okay, to show extra data like family and so on. So you can do this on your own, but I hope everyone now knows how to actually show things, here, right? So that's what I wanted to tell you about the JSON format data. Now one more example, great example of this JSON format data is you would be receiving data from the backend, right? So let's take an example of that. Okay, so right now you can just comment this out, because later on you can take this as a reference or whatever you want. So it's always to comment things out. Now suppose we are creating a weather app. So let me just say that we have a weather app. Okay, so I'm just going to say weather app. Now you know that I'm just a developer and I won't be going to every city to measure the temperature or things like that. I am the front-end developer. I don't cover the data. I won't be going everywhere to measure the data. I'm a front-end developer. My job is to show data into the web page. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just going to bring data from the backend or some API. What I can do is Here you can simply search for open weather map. This is the website which would give you free weather data API, which is real-time data. That means it gets updated in frequently. So you can just visit this website, and now guys, here you can see that it would just take some time to load first of all. Now according to that, you can first of all log in. Okay, first of all you have to log in. You would get a login button and you would log in. Now after that, you would get your profile name, and after that you would get my API keys. Okay, so you just go here, and yeah, it's actually asking me to log in because I haven't logged in from a while. So you can see that it's actually showing me my API keys, right? So what I want is I would pick any of the keys. For example, this default one. By default you would get the default one, or else you can generate your own new key, whatever you want, but default one would work. So this is totally free, you don't need to do anything. So this is my API key, right? So let me just save my API key here for now, and I'm just showing you an example what kind of data you might receive from any JSON file. Okay, so you can see that this is my API key, right? Now if I want to call any API, so let's go to the API section, and now I want to say that whatever city name I provide, according to that I want to get the data. So this is the API which I'm talking about, current weather data. So if I go here, this is the API doc, and here you can see, you can read more about this, but our main goal is to get this data. So you can see this is the JSON format which we saw just now. This is similar to our data, right? So you can try to work on this. So let me just show you one of the response. So just go down little bit more, and here you can actually see that we have data according to the city name. So just copy this, paste it here. Now suppose your city name is what? Your city name is Mumbai. Okay, so Mumbai. And then if I talk about the API key, this is the key. So you just have to pass your API key. You just have to pass your API key. Okay, so you would be passing this. Now you can see that I'm getting the JSON format data. Okay, similar to this, you can actually call that data in your JSON file. So you can see that this is the JSON format data. Okay, that means backend is built by somebody else, or your own company has built the backend and you're calling their API. Okay, so you would be calling this URL from the front end, and you would be getting this data from the backend. Okay, so backend would send you this data according to the city. So you can see according to the city, it sent me the data. Okay, whatever city you have provided, according to that you would get the data, you would get the temperature and things like that. So if you don't know how to actually call this kind of data into your JavaScript page, you can simply call it using, or actually I would simply say let weather data and equals, and I would just say fetch actually then I would call the fetch method. Now inside this, guys, you just need to paste it. Okay, so you just need to paste it here. Then once you get the data, okay, once you get the data, what you need is you would simply say that once you get the data, it would be in string format, right? So let me just show you what would you get. So if I just print console.log weather data right now, let's see what I would get. Okay, so in my website, if I just inspect, if I go to console, can see that await is only okay. Actually I did one mistake. What you can do is, instead of this that's some separate concept, async await, suppose you call this fetch method. Now after this I can actually call then catch. Okay, so if I just hit enter, and now you would see it something like this. It's actually something like this. I would simply say if I receive the data, then let me just first of all print the data. Okay, so if I just print the data, or whatever data I receive, I would just print the data. So I would just say, suppose if I receive some response, okay, so I would just print the response, res. Okay, so let's see. So you can see I got this response, right? I got this response, but this is in, from this I have to convert this data into normal JSON format. Okay, so what I would do is, you have to just always write return res.json. Then after that, if I write then, so what would happen? First the data would be converted into JSON format, which is understood by JavaScript. Then you would be able to get the data out of it. Okay, so this is the normal JSON format, which is the past format, not the string format, which is the past format. So now if I just show you the data, you can see you got all the data. Okay, for example, you want to get the name, so if I write data dot name, so I would actually get the name. So now your task is to show this complete data into this page and make the CSS also for this so that you can make a beautiful weather app. Okay guys, so I hope now you understood how to actually work with JSON format, and in future you will be working with this a lot, not in just JavaScript part. You would be also working it with in React.js, that is again JavaScript. Then also you will be working with in Node.js, that is again JavaScript. Or else if you're working in mobile app development, so in that also you would be dealing with the JSON format data. So it's really helpful to understand JSON format data. Okay guys, so now I hope you understood how to use this, and I will see you in the next video. Till then, have a good day. Bye bye.